All right, today we're going to break down a really powerful message from a sermon by Pastor Yusek. It's all about one of the most incredible miracles in the Bible. You know the one, the story of Lazarus. So let's get right into it. First things first, a special greeting that comes straight from the sermon itself. Hello to all the middle and high school students of Songtan Yongguang Church. Now, even though this message was first given to you all, its lesson is, trust me, for every single one of us. All right, let's kick things off with a question that I think we've all felt at some point. Have you ever prayed for something like with everything you've got, you need an answer right now, but all you get back is silence? Yeah, that feeling, that really tough feeling of waiting, is exactly what we're diving into today. So, our story takes us to the Gospel of John, chapter 11, and it starts with a family that Jesus was incredibly close to. We're talking about Lazarus and his sisters Mary and Martha. And when we meet them, they are in the middle of a huge, desperate crisis. So here's the situation. Lazarus is sick, and not just a little sick, he is gravely ill. So his sisters, they send this urgent message to Jesus, and I want you to notice how they word it. They don't just say Lazarus is sick. They say, Lord, the one you love is sick. You can feel the trust in that, right? They know Jesus loves their brothers, so they are 100% expecting him to drop everything and come running. But Jesus' response, it's pretty puzzling. He says this sickness will not end in death. Now hold on, because we know Lazarus does physically die. So what's going on? The sermon points out that Jesus is talking about something much, much bigger here. He means it won't end in eternal death, that final separation from God. He's basically dropping a hint that this whole terrible situation, it's actually a setup for something amazing that's going to show everyone God's glory.
And this is where the story takes a turn that you just have to imagine was absolutely agonizing for Mary and Martha. Because instead of rushing to his friend's side, what does Jesus do? He waits. And this puzzling delay, this is where the sermon really zeroes in on its first major lesson for us.
Get this, after hearing that his dear friend is on his deathbed, Jesus intentionally stays put for 2 more days. 2. That's a delay that's just long enough for Lazarus to die. And the big question is, why? Why would he do that? Well, this leads us to a really brilliant analogy from the sermon. Think about this. How often do we treat prayer like it's just a vending machine?
Yeah, this breaks it down perfectly with a vending machine, right? You put your money in, that's our prayer, and you expect to get your snack out like instantly. We're in control. But the sermon says, nope, that's not how it works. Real faith, that's a completely different system. The input is still prayer, sure, but then there's this process, this patient waiting. And the control, it's not ours. It's all God's. He operates on his timeline, not ours. And to really hammer this point home, Pastor Kang asks this super challenging question. Just imagine, you've got $1 million, 1 billion won, sitting in the bank. Suddenly, a $10,000 problem comes up. Now, be honest, you might shoot a quick prayer up, but would you really wait for God to solve it? Or would you just write a check? And that just nails the sermon's point, doesn't it? If we have the power to fix something ourselves, our first instinct is to just do it. We don't wait. And then the sermon has this kind of funny line. Maybe that's why we don't have $1 million, because relying on our own power, our own resources, gets in the way of actually depending on God. It's kind of crazy, but sometimes not having the resources is the very thing that pushes us to a place of real faith and patience. Okay, so let's get back to the story. After that 2-day wait, Jesus finally heads to Bethany. But by the time he gets there, the situation has gone from bad to worse. From any human point of view, it's moved from critical to completely, utterly hopeless. Lazarus has been in the tomb for 4 days, and the sermon really stresses this number. This wasn't a coma, this wasn't some near-death experience. In that hot climate, 4 days meant one thing: decay. He was gone, irreversibly, biologically dead. The situation had to be absolutely impossible, so that the miracle would be absolutely undeniable. And it's right here in this moment of just total despair that Jesus says one of the most powerful things in the entire Bible. He looks at Martha. And notice, he doesn't say, I can perform a resurrection. He says, I am the resurrection. It's totally different. He's saying he is the source of life itself. He's a power that plays by a whole different set of rules than death. But the people watching, they're not getting it. Not at all. They're stuck in the past, whispering to each other, hey, isn't this the guy who healed that blind man? Couldn't he have just shown up earlier and stopped this whole thing from happening?
All they can see is what could have been, not what's about to happen. And this is great. Pastor Kang uses this awesome piece of modern Korean slang to describe what the crowd is thinking. The term is gamdadwi. It basically means something like, you've totally lost the plot, or you are completely missing the point here. The crowd was so locked into their own logic, their own expectations, that they were completely blind to the incredible divine plan that was unfolding right in front of their eyes. Okay, so this brings us to the absolute climax of the story. And really, this is the single most important lesson in the whole sermon, the exact order, the sequence of how a miracle actually happens. So Jesus tells them to roll the stone away from the tomb. And even Martha, the same Martha who just heard that powerful I am the resurrection speech, she objects. Her response is so real, so practical, and so grim. She's like, but Lord, there's going to be a bad smell. He's been in there for 4 days. You can just feel the hopelessness in her voice. But then, Jesus shows them the divine sequence. First, there's a command that requires faith. Take away the stone. But then, and this is the absolute key, look at the very next step. Before he shouts for Lazarus, what does he do? He looks up and he prays. And the sermon's point here is so powerful. Prayer isn't the emergency brake you pull when everything else fails. It's the first step. It's the work you do before the miracle. And this is the sermon's big challenge to you and me. Think about it. If Jesus himself, the Son of God, felt it was absolutely essential to pray to the Father before he acted, who are we to think we can just rush into our problems, our work, our lives, without doing the exact same thing first? So the big question is, how do we take this incredible story and actually apply it to our lives? Well, the sermon boils it all down to a simple but really profound pattern we can follow. Okay, so let's recap the key takeaways here. First, prayer is not a vending machine, so let's stop treating it like one. Second, sometimes our own strength and our own resources are the biggest things getting in the way of our faith. Third, God's delays aren't denials, they're designed for a greater purpose. And the big one, the most important one, action comes after prayer. Always. Pray first. This really captures the pastor's final powerful charge to us. The pattern is so clear. You pray, you fight that urge to just solve it yourself, you wait quietly, and you trust that God is going to take care of it in his way and in his time. And that leaves us with one final thought, a question for you to take into your week. What is one problem, one challenge, one decision you're facing right now where you can choose to follow this pattern, to really, truly pray about it first, and then patiently, faithfully just wait and see how God works?